for this virtual visits GoToMeeting. This is our final one, a little bit smaller group this time, but I want to give you a preview of what we're going to be doing today. So Kevin, you can move the slide up, please. We're going to start off talking a little bit about Merit's expectations regarding virtual visits. Ron Kleinfelter is going to talk about our GoToMeeting accounts and what's available. Darcy Hala has joined us, a loyalty specialist from Iowa, to talk about some tips for success. She's done a lot of virtual meetings, virtual visits, and is going to share some of her success factors. Then we're going to get into the basics of GoToMeeting, and this is really kind of an overview, a broad overview of GoToMeeting. And so Kevin Cullen will lead us through accessing, scheduling, and navigating GoToMeeting, and we'll cover the basics there. We'll talk a little bit about visit preparation, and we'll close it out with a question and answer sessions where you have an opportunity to ask any questions you may have. So let's move into the Merit's expectations. This was written last Sunday. So for the time being, we said virtual visits may be our new normal. Things are fluid and may change. It looks like virtual visits are certainly going to be part of our new normal. I know there's some differences from zone to zone, region to region, but clearly virtual visits are going to be a part of what we do moving forward. And you'll notice I'm referring to these as virtual visits and not as meetings. Steve Colbert kind of made this distinction, and I liked it. Their visits should be, very similar to your in-store visits. So it's not just a phone call, and it's not just a GoToMeeting. It's, it's got to be multiple phone calls and multiple GoToMeetings. You want to maximize your influence in the dealership. And this means that you might have a day that starts with a meeting with the management team, the leadership team. You may have another GoToMeeting with a service manager getting into, Service Smarts Online or whatever. You might have another GoToMeeting with a sales manager or sales rep, BDC manager, etc. There may be phone calls in between and things like that. But it's not just a 2-hour GoToMeeting and call it a day type of thing. Kevin and I joke about we don't want to become executive BDM and LSs and get stuck in the conference room. You have to go beyond management and get out and out into the work areas and influence the people that really make things happen. So this is like in dealership visits. You work with the employees and you do that dealership wide. Your requirements remain: the number of visits, follow-up, reporting, calendar, highlights, expenses, etc. We may find that with virtual meetings that you're actually able to see more dealerships or visit more dealerships because of the reduced travel time, etc. But you are still expected to be involved in dealership activities 5 days a week, and that includes prep, calls, GoToMeetings, everything. And, I know it's obvious, but this is a full-time job, and going virtual doesn't change that. All right, Kevin. Not necessarily amongst our team, but I've spoken to people in the neighborhood, in stores, things like that, and they talk about this crisis. It reminded me of the Chinese symbols you see for crisis and opportunity. They're often seen together. And that's because opportunity often comes out of crisis. To me, this isn't a crisis. This is an opportunity. We can rethink how we do our work and look at it in a different light. We can use new levels of cooperation, and I think we'll see new levels of cooperation. In fact, I think we're seeing that already with our zone team members and dealership personnel. And, you know, I think that will also extend to our team as well, where there'll be new levels of cooperation, sharing best practices, how these virtual meetings are going and things of that nature. So really communicating with one another and sharing what we've done and what makes us successful doing these virtual meetings or virtual visits. I think it's going to let our talents emerge too. I think it's really going to max out, you know, getting our skills up to a new level. You know, I think about things like mystery shops or the phone dashboard and other tools, Service Smarts Online, Playbook, and really enhancing those tools and getting people in the dealership to use those tools better as well. So I think we're going to see a lot of talent begin to emerge. You know, we're going to be able to dig deeper with our dealerships, so we can really get in and use the extra time that we have to help them dig deeper and find new and creative ways to sell and service vehicles. I think you're going to see some rapid problem solving. I think you've probably already seen that. I've heard of many dealerships that have looked at new ways of doing things, delivering vehicles, etc. So I think there's going to be rapid problem solving, and that'll be a piece of what we're doing. And obviously, I think we're going to be innovative in how we get things done. I think we'll see increased resiliency. You know, I think that there was, well, it still is a bit of a shakeup. It's a change, but we're resilient and we'll adapt and overcome. That's kind of our tagline: adapt and overcome. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ron Kleinfelter to talk a little bit about our GoToMeeting accounts. So Ron, take it away.
Thank you, David. Okay, first I want to talk to you all about individual accounts. I'm getting a little echo here. I think somebody has their computer audio going there. That's better. Okay, so first I want to talk to you about your individual accounts. Now, all loyalty specialists have dedicated GoToMeeting accounts. They traditionally do more virtual meetings, so all of them have their own personal GoToMeeting accounts. And they have a lot of experience with these virtual visits, and you'll be hearing from Darcy here in a second about some of her experience. Some of the BDMs out there also have their own individual accounts because they historically have been power users and frequent users in the past. So if you have your own account, please continue to use your own account. And then in addition to those, many of you know that there are regional accounts available for all. So I want to talk now about the regional accounts. Kevin, if you can go to the next slide. So this slide here is our regional accounts. And if any of you have been paying attention this afternoon and noticed my GoToMeeting post from just a little while ago, this slide's already out of date because we have now added, we went from 2 regional accounts for each region to now we have 4. So all of this, what you see in the colored boxes here, the usernames, passwords for each of the region accounts, it's all out on community. I just did a community post on the blog, but it's also out there full time. It's under the resources, and then if you click the resources button, there's a GoToMeeting accounts page, and go to that, and you'll see all of the information, not only for these 2 accounts that you see here on the screen, but all 4 accounts in each region. They're all, the nomenclature is the same. They're all WER, whatever the region is, .BDM1, BDM2, BDM3, BDM4.merits@gmail.com. Password is all merits lowercase 2019 for all of the accounts. That is the username and password you will use when logging into the GoToMeeting. I've also been hearing the last month or so, although it's been infrequent, it doesn't seem like GoToMeeting does this every time, but I've been hearing that every so often GoToMeeting will be doing a 2-factor authentication and sending a 6-digit number to the email associated with the account. okay, can cause problems if you don't have access to the email. But what I'm telling you all is all of you can access those specific emails because the username and password is the same. So you just go to gmail.com, log into the wer.bdm1.merits@gmail.com, use that as your email, and then the password is Merits 2019 for all of them. Okay, so if you ever need to get that two-factor authentication PIN, you can go to those emails. You can add these emails to your iPhone or to your mail accounts on your iPhone or your Android phone as well. Now, we discovered earlier today that sometimes when you do that, they need an authentication and they need to know what phone number the account is tied to or what Gmail, the recovery Gmail account is. And so I'm going to tell you all of that now. The phone number on these accounts is all my cell phone number, which hopefully you have a pen or a pencil, you can write it down. If not, shoot me an email. It's 419-690-9998, 419-690-9998. And the recovery email is my personal email, which is my first initial and last name @gmail.com. So rkleinfelter@gmail.com. That only use that if they require it to verify when you're adding your this email to your phone. Otherwise, you can always go out to gmail.com, be it an internet browser, and access these email accounts to get any of that two-factor authentication information via that way. So once again, 4 accounts per region. They're all active right now. Please start using them. And that's okay. Go to the next slide, Kevin. We're good. So some important safety tips when using these regional accounts. One, be careful not to double book meetings on any of these accounts. So when you log into whatever account it is, be mindful of the scheduled meetings. You'll see that at the bottom of the GoToMeeting page. Be mindful of the scheduled meetings already in there. Do not overbook accounts. The other thing that we recommend is it's a good courtesy to give each other a 30-minute buffer between meetings. So if one meeting runs over a little bit, there's still time for the next person, and Darcy will talk about this as well, the next person to get on the meeting 15 minutes early or so. So give each other a 30-minute buffer between meetings if at all possible. Ask you to only use the accounts designated for your regions. There's 4 accounts per region now. Please don't cross regions. And then the other thing that you need to, and Kevin will talk about this during the demo, you need to pay attention to the time zones when scheduling. Otherwise, you could mess it up not only for you, but the people participating. They might think it's a different time. So pay special attention to time zones. And then last on this page, but very, very important, and this applies to both the GoToMeeting accounts and the Gmail accounts. Do not make any settings changes to the accounts, such as password, account name, email, profile picture, etc. Just do not make any changes because, and we had it happen earlier this week, 2 of those accounts got locked out because of somebody making changes to the settings, and it took me literally 3 days working with Google to get those accounts unlocked. So do not do this. You'll mess it up for everybody. So that is all I have, I believe. If you want to go to the next slide there, David or Kevin. And now I'm going to turn it over to our loyalty specialist, Darcy Holla, and she's going to take you through some of her tips for success. Darcy?
Hi, thanks, Ron. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good to be with you. I've been doing quite a few virtual meetings on the loyalty specialty side, especially since we cover such large territories. It works out great to meet with some of those dealers that you might not get a chance to meet with all the time when you're out in person. So these are just a top 10 lists that I kind of put together. One, I have a great relationship with the field teams that I work with, and they can be such a help to you in scheduling meetings and sending out calendar requests. It really gives you some credibility when you can coordinate all of your visits and meetings through the DSMs and the DMAs. So definitely work with the zone teams as usual, just as you would do with your face-to-face visits. I like it if they are going into the dealership to have them in dealership with their, regularly scheduled meeting, and then be virtual with them so that they can help lead the discussion and have accountability in the dealership with the management team or the sales team or service, etc. I try to set my visits up as in advance as possible. 1 week is great if you can do that. That way it gives people a chance to schedule out their time and make sure it's on everyone's calendars, etc. And again, having that DSM be in person with them. I usually do a small prep call with the field team before going in, even sometimes just right before the call as they're driving to the dealership. Just to make sure we're all on the same page of what we want to accomplish, make sure we're set to go with any key information that they have that's crucial to the meeting, etc. And I like Ron and David mentioned, it's good to be early to your meeting, so I try to get on at least 15 minutes early, make sure I test everything out, make sure all the audio controls are working, the share screen is working. I'm going to hear a little bit more on how to do all of those things in a moment. And then I usually let the DSM or the EMA start the meeting out and kick it off. From there, they turn it over to me. I do some type of an icebreaker, figure out who's in the room. Sometimes with the rewards training, there's many people in the room and you don't know if it's sales and after sales, or it could be a smaller group and you just want to make sure you're able to understand what they need and what the roles in the room need with the meeting. Next slide, please. Thank you. And yeah, so then I give the audience the chance to kind of say what is on their mind, if they have any specific things or questions, and make it as interactive as possible. So I like to understand their needs first, and then that kind of guides me through how I set up everything as I go through the meeting. I try to ask lots of questions throughout, engage them throughout the meeting, call on a person by name, and also, make sure if I leave the question open-ended so they have to answer, and get some response from them. And then I also, one thing that I do, especially with all the reporting, and I think for the BDM team, you guys are going in deep dives, I try to have the dealership take control of the screen and log into their Global Connect and log into the accounts and navigate to where they need to go to so that they learn how to do it. And it just helps them remember where things are, pull their own reports. So they take over the actual meeting, and I turn the controls over to them, which we'll learn that in a bit as well too. So make them the presenter in that case. And then I do turn the video cam on every now and then. You do have to be what's aware around you and in your background, of course, but it's nice to see who you're talking to if they have that capability at their dealership. And then the Q&A piece is important. I kind of have a few questions that I lob out there to kind of start the dialogue, and then let the teams ask as much as they need. And it does turn into a very engaging session. I really feel like I've captured their attention in these virtual meetings in a way that sometimes is even more powerful than when I've been in the store. And with that, I will turn it over to Kevin.
Very good. Thank you, Darcy. Great job. Appreciate it. And good afternoon, everybody. And again, welcome. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules. So, yeah, this is going to be, as David said, part of our way of life going forward, it feels like. So, again, I'm going to go over the basics, just kind of follow along. And remember, we need to learn, those of you who are learning this need to do it through repetition. Plenty of us are available later on to help you out if need be. I've had several conversations with people since the Tuesday, Thursday, and this morning session too. So it all begins with logging on to www.gotomeeting.com. Just simply type in the email address and click next. And in this case, I used the Northeast Region BDM1 and just noodled around a little bit. Typed in at Maritz 2019 password and click the sign in. And that'll get you to this page right here. And now the next logical thing you'll normally be doing is scheduling a visit. So let's start by looking at that. This is incredibly simple. I had a phone call this morning from someone who was in a previous session and said, I think I did it right, but it felt too easy. And that's exactly right. It is incredibly easy. So just get to this page when you click schedule, enter your meeting name, type it in, and then click on this calendar here, pick the date. type in the time you want to start, and then the anticipated length of the meeting. Now, again, remember, keep that 30-minute buffer because we got to respect each other's times. Incredibly important, as Ron mentioned, that time zone. Some of you cover multiple time zones or a couple of time zones in your territory. Some of your teams share multiple time zones. So please make sure you're focused on that. So in this case, we picked the name Guido's Chevrolet Business Development Meeting. We picked March 25th. We'll start at 10 a.m. and a 60-minute long meeting. Once you do that, just click Save, and voila, that's it. You've got it. It's in the books. At this point, this page right here, this look right here, you can invite people. So, you know, look at the top right there. You can copy, paste to your calendar or share with your attendees, put it in Outlook or Google Scheduling, whatever it is that you do from this point, or you can skip right now. You still can go invite later. You have that opportunity to skip and then go right in here. So your landing page, whatever account you're on, is now going to show you meeting. Probably a good idea to put your name on there. I went through a few today. It might not be bad in this case. Guido's Chevrolet Business Development Meeting, parentheses, Cullen. You can see that it's on March 25th at 10 o'clock. It shows here that it's 10 to 11. And now my teammates in this case could schedule around me. They know that they could go up to about 9:30 or they could start at about 11:30. Couple other things here. If something changes, you can delete it. We'd certainly appreciate, as a courtesy, not to delay. In fact, if you could remove it almost immediately. I've already had a couple people tell me they had a cancellation, but they were able to slot another meeting right in there. So in that case, you might want to go in and edit the meeting, change the name, whatever the case is. And again, you can go back now and still share that and send that out to whoever you're trying to invite. Once it's time to rock and roll, you click on Start, and that'll give you this look right here. This is the page you've got going here. It defaults to you being muted. So for sound, you'll need to click on that microphone to get there. And know that you have a few options, as I'm sure you all are aware of this from attending these, and those of you who've been doing them. You can use your computer audio, you can call in, or you can choose no audio at all. That's a safe bet on a lot of these national calls and things of that nature when you don't have to talk. Continuing on, you can also share your screen. Obviously, that's important. So you just click on the screen, and then you get that look down at the bottom. Just when you click share, your screne will then come on. Cautionary note, be sure to disable your pop-ups prior to the visit to avoid distractions. I see Mr. Chauncey's with us today. I've been telling a story. I just recently bought this computer. I got a new one, and I was doing training up there with Amy Hunt and Chauncey, and I was getting pop-ups like crazy. So he's a pretty computer savvy guy and compassionate to senior citizens. So we went in there and he cleaned up all of my pop-ups. But had I been conducting a virtual meeting at that time, it would have been completely a huge distraction. So just be careful not to let that happen. And there are stories of cases where people got a little embarrassed by some things that were popping up. So just make sure you clean that up, please. Now, well, also here, as Darcy mentioned, you see Start Sharing My Screen. You can drop down. You can change presenters. You click on that. You can pass it on to them. You can allow them to use your keyboard and mouse. You just click that to a person so it maintain your screen, and they can negotiate through what you have going on at your computer. So pretty cool. A lot of options right there. I'd play around with that. And I think one of the best bets, and we'll talk about this, we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. You know, it's not a bad idea to do a couple practice meetings. I've already done 2 or 3 with people since Tuesday, just kind of an abbreviated version so they can kind of navigate through. Okay, and then you have the audience view. You know, as you share your screen, you want to get a comfort level that they can see it. This is an actual screenshot. When David said we did it this weekend, but so I had this slide up. I looked down, clicked audience view, and I verified that my audience could see what I'm seeing. And then you can share the webcam, again, as Darcy mentioned. In this case, Robin Farrow did this. Was an in-house presentation Robin did for Mystery Shop, and she used this, but she does use it from time to time, depending on the audience. And again, on the other side, they can do it. Well, several of you on this call probably have experienced our interviews. We actually sometimes use this for our job interviews, so it works out pretty nice. But you can certainly do that. But again, to Darcy's point, watch your background. You know, just make sure you have a professional setting, etc. while you're doing that. You can see the attendees, obviously. Just click on that right now, and I can see, and right now you can see them too. So that's pretty cool. Now, remember, in the dealership, you may have just one login because they're sitting in a conference room and there's 3, 4, or 5 managers, or maybe in a service department, the service manager and his BDC rep or her BDC rep are in the back sitting around his computer. To Darcy's point, verify who's in the room. Probably, it's not always going to show here, but this is a good starting point. You also have that chat function right there. Pretty cool. You can chat, see what's going on. A little cautionary note, be sure you're fully aware of who you selected in the to option before sending a message. And Chris, I did see a message, and let's definitely get together and do some playbook stuff. We'll have some fun with that. It'd be pretty cool. I got a note there. I'll get to it in a second. But, you can just be careful. If you make it a comment or something like that, you could make a little boo-boo there. Record. You can record the sessions as you go. With this one, in fact, is being recorded. But please note that there's one additional step to take after your virtual visit. You'll need to convert the recording to an MP4 file, and then you save that to your desktop for review and distribution. And it's really simple to do. As soon as I'm done, there'll be a message. It'll say convert. I click convert. Takes a little while. You just let it go. You can do your other work while it's recording and go from there. Now, Patty and I, we do a lot of stuff for the Northeast region. We convert it to YouTube, or we record it to Vimeo, etc. Hang on, we got a comment here from Miss Michelle Jones. Some notes. So if this is your first time using this technology, there's a quick download to start using it. So please log in 10 minutes beforehand. So you're going to have a very good tip. Webcam, good, boom. I'll let you share all that. It's a lot of good stuff there, Michelle. I'll let you share that during the Q&A. But yeah, obviously, as Darcy mentioned, you want to start early, get in there and certainly noodle around with it before you get in over your head, so to speak. Continuing on, there's a great toolbar that you can use. It's really good. It's got a pointer. You got nice toys you can play with here. You got a pen, you got a highlighter, you got this spotlight, which is in red, and then you can erase all that, and then there's other options for you right there. So let's do a quick toolbar demo, shall we? Just to demo the stuff. So what I'm going to do first, obviously, is the pointer. And when you pick another tool, you click back on pointer, and it'll get back to that. So I'm going to start with the spotlight, which is pretty cool. I think this really works well. I've sat in on a few of these with different people. Let's look at my rewards for a minute. You're getting in there and you're looking at that utilization report, for example. You brought that up, and you might be able to, as you go from column to column, you can kind of do this number right here and kind of explain where you're at any given time. That works quite well. You've got the highlighter. It's there. I have honestly never used this, but I'm just going to show you that it's there. You might have reason to do that. I've always had a problem coloring within a line, so that's probably not for a guy like me. And then, let's clear that. And then let's go to our pen. So, just simply, you can just, go John Madden here on the Telestrator, draw a bunch of lines in here, just kind of delineate the different areas. I'm just getting goofy here, just playing around to show you what you can do. I actually drew a Mickey Mouse on here for my grandkids. They were watching me prep one time. It was pretty cool. They were impressed. I know you're not, but they were. So who cares? That's something I care about. There you go. You can circle the number right there. You got, your date right here. You got the date here. Boom, as John Madden would say, bam. You come in here and bing, you put a little circle in there. Boom. You can see Mall Chevrolet. This deal is doing quite well, by the way. Just randomly picked it. Bing, and then boom, you wrap it up. And what do you got, boys and girls? You got a little tic-tac-toe. Bada bing, bada boom. Isn't that exciting? You can feel it in the air. You can feel leathers in the air. Beautiful thing. So seriously, you got those tools. I think obviously the pointer comes into play, and I do think that spotlight comes into play too. Sorry about that. Speaking of my grandkids, that's one of them FaceTiming me right now. They're probably bored at home, so it's all good. All right. So final point here. Visit prep. Going to piggyback on a lot of what Darcy talked about, and then we'll get into some Q&A, and we can kind of add. And the Q&A is about other ideas, suggestions, things of that nature. So let's go back to what Mr. Kohler talked about. We have to shift mentally, and we have to. We're always in a position of some level of self-promotion, if you will, showing our value, etc. So we cannot drop our guard on any level as we shift temporarily or whatever the case is into doing more virtual meetings. So treat these just like you do an in-dealer visit. Now, having said that, and a few of you have been on the early meetings, you heard the story. You can use this for your drop-bys too, but let's not make that the normal. I got a call, BDC manager, like many of them at the service BDC, need a little juice. They came up with a strategy where they were picking up vehicles if needed, etc. So he got a hold of me. He said, "Hey, can we do that computer thing you do where you show me how to do it?" So from Cape May Courthouse in New Jersey and me sitting here in Camden, Delaware, we logged in. I flipped the screen over to him. He got into Global Connect. Boom. He got into Service Smarts. Bing. We picked the BDC alert list, sorted out everybody with recalls, everybody with 20% oil life and less. He got what he needed, name, phone number, email, didn't care about address. He looked at his included maintenance, the free maintenance that's still there with the expiration date, and he pulled the My Rewards points. They sorted it up, cleaned it up. He said, "Thanks, bro." We hung up, and he went on. He started making appointments, bringing people in, getting them, for the most part, free service from their perspective, and spending some of those My Rewards points. Having said that, again, that was a quick hit. We want you to treat these like that professional plan meeting that you do in dealer. So develop an agenda like you always do. What are you trying to accomplish? To Darcy's point, develop your PowerPoint slides and handouts in advance. Get them all ready, proofread and practice. Work from that, like I'm doing right now. Work from the slideshow format with PowerPoint. That's pretty helpful right there. And consider if you plan to share your screen. In other words, turn it over. I think you will in most cases, or a lot of cases. As you know, they have access to stuff that we don't. So be prepared to do that. And when we work one-on-one, and if you get in smaller groups, you definitely will get savvy at that. Once you do it 1, 2, 3 times, you're going to be completely comfortable. Decide if you'll need to access those websites, again, that Darcy referred to, and when appropriate, have them turn the screen over and have them navigate. It's a good learn by doing kind of thing. Now, there are times when you have multiple clients. I know there's folks that do these by district, by zone, etc. When you do screenshots, just be careful of that proprietary data. We go to great lengths. I'll mention Patty because her and I build a lot of stuff together. Like we're doing 2 drive growth presentations. It's the same presentation at 2 different times next week for the Northeast region, both Buick GMC and Chevy. And we are sanitizing the heck out of those slides. We thoroughly scrub them. In fact, Friday, that'll probably be the last thing we do before we go home is double, triple check to make sure that there's no dealer names, there's no numbers, etc. when doing that. So be extremely careful with proprietary data, without a doubt. And just like your face-to-face visits, focus on action items with related metrics. These highlights are so incredibly important. I think they're going to become more important now because I think we can be the standard bearer for doing this. And I think the level of work that we're going to put out during this period, I think will outweigh what they're seeing from the other vendors. I really feel confident, but it's critical. An action item should be based on an empirical measure. What is the deficiency? What's the numerical deficiency that you're trying to work on? Their enrollment rate in My Rewards is 29%. It's anemic. We need to work on that. Come up with a strategy, benchmark that. That's an action item. And then down the road, hopefully you improve that up to say 60, 65, 70. They're not redeeming points aggressively enough. That sort of thing. Accessory sales are limited. Come up with a number on that, each one of those with that action item. On the drive growth side, obviously it could be inventory deficiencies. They're lacking in a particular vehicle, Sierra, Silverado, whatever the case is. The data shows that they should be a little more assertive in their vehicle, in their inventory management. The vehicle detail page views on their website are anemic. They need some work. What are you going to do? Get that measure. The target said that they should be at 8,950 views, and they currently have 5,500 views. Then what are you doing with it, that action item? The plan is we're going to look at their website. We're going to bring the district digital manager in. We're going to look at that. We're going to drill down and see what the call to action items are there, buttons to push, what's driving that. Are they using it in all their correspondence? All those things we do, measure it, and then hopefully, again, 2-3 months later, you can say they now exceed the targeted number of vehicle detail page views. Over on that TCA side, obviously those days to sale, we spend a lot of time in there. Maybe it's a GM third-party leads. Get the number with the action item. Maybe it's a zip code, what's going on in their backyard. Demonstrate numerically why that's an action item. And then do your work, wrap it up, and your leads will love you when you send that fantastic highlight in that said they went from X to Y and it showed an increase, and here's what we did collectively. And finally, get that next visit. Let's not slack off on that. That's important, especially in this day and age right now. So I have a few dealers I take care of. I visit dealers with other people, and that's just such a great practice to nail that down, get it on the schedule, man, get that email summary out, or have your DSM do that summary when you're done, and then get that meeting invite out as soon as you can, and you'll be in really good shape, just like you are with your normal work. So on that note, I've got everybody muted, so you'll need to click the mute button. Michelle, I'd like to offer you to jump in, and then we'll open it up. You had a few good comments there, pretty lengthy, so I thought I'd just let you share that. What were your thoughts there, Miss Jones?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Hear you real good, Michelle. Greetings.
Awesome. Greetings. So I am preparing a sort of a mini tutorial for a couple of my dealers who have had trouble logging into this technology. So therefore I thought I'd prepare the tutorial. Oops. Sorry.
Okay.
There's another tip. Mute your phone. Anyway, in my instructions, I'm telling them what I texted you was just a few notes. Like if it's your first time using this technology, you're going to have a quick little download to access, and there might be a learning curve. So please log in 10 minutes beforehand so we can ensure that you have successfully connected to the meeting with your webcam and your audio. And then we really encourage you to join us with your webcam or phone video so that we can see everyone and have that personal interaction, which I think is going to be even more important than ever now. You can also download the GoToMeeting phone app from your app store and participate on your phone. This works well if some participants are working remotely or if there are multiple people at your location so everyone can all see and hear well. And then most important to the success of the online gathering, please remember to toggle off, mute your audio, which is the green microphone button, top left circle, when you are not speaking, which will be most of the time, so that everyone can hear the speaker well. Dogs barking, phone receptionist, putting calls to service, loud breathing, static, all that. The microphone picks up everything. And then there's a chat feature for you to submit questions, comments, etc.
Fantastic. Great. Appreciate that, Michelle. Great advice, great tips. Let's continue the dialogue going. Again, you can unmute yourself and chat, or you can shoot it in on the chat function on the bottom. It's up to you. So on that note, the floor is open, ladies and gentlemen. Well,
Kev, it's Gina. I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Go ahead. Gina, how are you?
How are you? Is there a way to, when you schedule a GoToMeeting, have it go right to your calendar?
You have to go, depending on how you manage that. What I'd like to suggest is that we will work one-on-one. How do you schedule your meetings now? Do you use Outlook or Google Calendar, or what do you do?
Yeah, I'm on Google Calendar, and I mean, I have to go in and schedule, which is fine.
Yep.
But I just wondered if there was an easier way to do it. But we can take it offline. That's fine.
Yeah, we'll do it. Well, anybody else? Ron, I think you came up this morning too. What thoughts you got on that, Ron? I'm still figuring that out.
This is Frank.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
Frank.
hi, Frank.
Frank Zupan. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Zupan. Thank you, Frank.
I figured it out the other day. What you got to do is you got to go into your, I think it's the Google store, but I basically searched it. I had to install an app that will allow me to add GoToMeeting on my Google Calendar. What it does now, when I go to my Google Calendar and I start to create a new appointment, the app is there and you have to log in. Now that we've got all these other logins, thank you, Ron, that was very helpful. You're going to have to use one of those to log in, but as you create your information or your subject line, the date, the time, and all that, and then you hit add, it'll automatically add it to your Google Calendar. Now, I was pretty anal about this. As I did one, I went to the go-to account for that appropriate one, like BDM1, and there it was, the same way it was when I put it into Google.
Okay, cool. Good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Frank. Yeah, and we can noodle around with it. I find that's probably the best way to work it. Yeah, Patty, Patty Turkhoff. Patty, you mind if I flip the screen over to you, or how do you want to do that?
No, that's fine. That's fine. Hi, everybody. This is what I do. I know it's not, it's probably not the epitome of technology here, but it does work. So when I go in and do my, I set up my GoToMeeting, and then you copy, let's see here.
That link. Hang on, let me see here.
Yeah. So
Can I make you the presenter? Patty, I'm going to make you the presenter if you don't.
Oh, yeah, I thought you did. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay, so when you set up your meeting and, GoToMeeting, you obviously then it tells you can copy the invite. So what I do from there is I just go right to my calendar and I add the description, and then I paste that in, and then I add my guests right from there. Let's see. I add my guests right from there. So if I want to invite Kevin and I want to invite David Kohler, and then, I set up the time correctly. If I want to do, up here, XYZ dealer, virtual, and that's the other thing is try to put your BAC, the dealer name, and then virtual. And then again, in the description here, I copy all the GoToMeeting stuff. And then when I save it, it automatically sends them the invite. So that's just another way to do it. Frank's is probably really streamlined, but I figured this works for me. I don't want to mess with it. So
Okay, that's good. All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Patty,
yes.
before you sign off, this is Chris.
Hi,
Now,
Chris.
hi there. I do the same thing, but you see your button where it says add conferencing?
Yeah.
Okay, click that.
Okay.
Okay, you don't have I guess I have my own, go to webinar or go to, if you get it linked in, all you have to do is go into add conferencing, and you would pick the type of conference that you want, and you click that. It automatically schedules the date, the time, and the information, and it will put it in. So then when you save it, it sends it out to everybody that you have on your account.
I think that's from the extension.
Okay.
You have to download the extension, I believe, is what somebody just chimed in. So there's an additional download.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, let me just get Frank.
So
Let's get Frank in there, if you don't mind. Patty, thank you. That was helpful. Appreciate it. Frank Zupan's going to show what he's got, and Frank, click
We're
on.
making Frank. Okay.
Yeah, we'll make him the presenter.
Okay, can everybody see my screen okay? It's got a bunch of red all over it.
Yep. You see it? Yeah,
Okay.
everybody does. Yep, they can see it.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one for tomorrow. I'm going to just do like Patty did. I put in my BAC. I put in dealer. I put in drive growth. And put in my name and go into more options, and this is what you see. This is what I was talking about, folks. This is the add-on that you can get through the Google store. what we do now is we set it up for the date of tomorrow. We're going to set the time period for, I'm going to put it right toward the end of the day so I'm not taking up anybody's time. Okay. And just like Patty showed you, you can add your guests and everything else in there. Again, this is right embedded in that email. But when you hit add, now I'm already signed in as BDM1. There it is right there. There's your link that you would be doing like Patty was just telling you. You're doing that copy, then you're pasting it in. It's all right there. If you look at those last 5 digits and you go to, I don't know if I've got this here. Let's see, let's refresh it.
Like a busy man there, Mr. Zupan.
Just trying to help. And look at that, folks. There it is.
Bada bang.
It's right there. I hit
Beautiful.
edit and look at that number that shows up on here. We hit save so we can see everything. There's that number, 7509. It was that quick.
Good.
That quick, folks. Real easy to do. And that thank you to Matthew, because he's the one that told us about it the other day. And as soon as he told me, I went out and did it.
Very
What
cool.
do you do, Frank? How do you get that? How do you download that extension? You go to Google or you go to meeting?
I did it through Google. I just typed in adding GoToMeeting to Google Calendar, and it gave me the process right there. All I
Oh,
had
nice.
to do was,
Perfect.
and all,
Can I
like
jump
I
in?
said,
It's Michelle. Hey, I think that was Patty. If you click on your settings wheel in the very bottom in your Google Calendar, right? Click on your settings wheel, scroll, get out of that, I'm sorry, was it Frank? Close
Yeah.
out of that meeting,
yeah, hang on.
X that out.
Yeah. Discard. Off it
Okay,
goes.
see your settings wheel by month?
Yeah, right there.
Okay, yep. Get add-ons.
That's where it
down.
was.
Okay.
That's
Yep.
where it was. Yep.
And it's
So
Oh,
let's do-
nice.
Hey, let's do a
Thank you,
tutorial.
Michelle.
Hey, Frank, let's me and you get
There it
together
is.
and do a tutorial for these folks. I think that'll be easier.
You want to work on it tomorrow?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's work on a
I'll-
tutorial. Okay,
I'll get with you tomorrow.
good. Let's do that. I think that this might twist some folks' brains right now. So
Okay.
it's pretty
Yes.
good, though. It's good stuff. I appreciate it. But all
All
of it.
right, and I'm gonna go back and let's see. All right, Kevin, help me. It's been a while. How do I
Okay.
give you back the screen?
Oh, I got it. I'll take it back. No worries.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, awesome job, Frank and Patty and Michelle. Thanks so much. Michelle, you typed in another tip. Go ahead. What you got there about pre-scheduling?
Well, so this is just a scheduling trick, and you can go into your Google Calendar. And so what I do is whenever I schedule a meeting, whether it's face-to-face or virtual, I have the reminders preset in there, so I never have to worry about it. And you have a maximum of 5 different reminders. So I set one for 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 days, 1 day, and 1 hour. And what this does is, if you're familiar with your phone, this will give you, your dealers, your staff, everybody's invited to the meeting, 5 reminders that pop up saying, hey, next week you have the business development meeting with Michelle on every single calendar event.
Cool.
Love that.
Good. Thank you. That's awesome. Hey, Chris, appreciate you chiming in. Chris Child is up in the Dakotas. He just did it. So Chris, if you don't mind, jump on. It was pretty easy for you to do that, what Frank was talking about. Chris is like, I don't want to talk, man. You got to unmute.
Yeah,
Chris.
yeah, it was super easy. I just Googled add it to your Google Calendar, and that was the first search result, and I clicked it, and it did it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, man. Thank you. How you doing, man? Everything good?
Yeah, very good.
Good. Good hearing from you.
Yeah, as good as can be expected.
There you go. Yeah, right. So again, anybody else unmute, chat. I'll do my best. The more lengthy chats, I think I'll have you do them.
Hey,
Kevin, this is Alan.
Go ahead, Alan.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All
Alan.
right. So one thing One thing, when you're scheduling your meeting too, if you can go up, can you scroll up on your PowerPoint?
Sure.
Go up a couple slides that show where the after you've scheduled it. Right there. No, in the scheduling. Right there. When you're scheduling, one of the things that you have to also make, right there where it says long distance numbers, make sure that is checked. Because quite often I'll do it and it will be unchecked, and I don't know why it does that, but then I'll do it, set up the very next one, and it'll be checked.
Oh, good. Good tip.
So make sure that is always checked
Good
for your guests.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate that. Who else was chiming in there? Somebody else had a point. Go ahead.
Kevin, I think
Chris.
Chris Sotelo. If you can also, because I know this with the BDMs and across other parts, you go to get the GoToMeeting, but you also have people out here, the loyalty specialists that do already have their account. So mine is already connected to my Google Calendar, so I don't have to go to, get an add-on or any of that. I can already schedule like I was showing Patty. I just have to click that button and it automatically schedules it.
That's great.
And gives me all the information.
Good.
Okay, so for those that do have, their own accounts, it's set up different.
Good.
So don't forget about them.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Others, questions, comments, hit the chat, unmute yourself. Any other thoughts, ideas, concerns? And we're all figuring this out. This is the 4th session that I've been involved in, and I've probably learned 7 or 8 new tips just since Tuesday, which is great. It really is. You'll constantly get better at this thing. Okay, now Ron had to drop off, so I wanted to give him let's give it to him anyway. Everybody unmute, if you could, please. Everybody unmute. Let's give Ron Kleinfelter a big round. This is being recorded, so you
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. All right. Mute. Oh, please mute back. My God, what happened there? I'm just kidding. It's all good. That's fantastic. Thank you. Darcy, you've been listening in, and you did a great job today, but any other thoughts come to mind now as we're about to wrap this up that you'd like to add?
I didn't mention it. I think someone might have, but just make sure you have all of your tabs. I go to a lot of different websites, so I pull those up ahead of time. So have all those tabs open and your presentations up and ready to go. And I think that makes things run smoothly when you're switching between screens and switching between PDF, PowerPoint, etc.
Yeah. And then Ron tells a story about some guy, some politician or something was doing something on one of these social media things, and he had an unruly website as part of his deal. I mean, I'll just show you, for example, not an unruly website, but so in my case right here, I log in today and my screen's showing, and I'm getting ready or whatever I have to go down. Well, there's all my favorites going right across there, all my financial stuff, etc., right on down. You just want to make sure, like to Darcy's point, get rid of that. There's a way to clean that up, or just make sure you're not showing it to anybody. So that's a good point. You triggered another thought, Darcy, too. Was I know Michelle mentioned this on the first one we did, and we got it brought up again. Headsets, pretty good idea. I have it. I'm not using them right now, but I have headsets. Patty and I use them when we record. It really makes for a clear sound. So just food for thought. You get a headset with a little mic. I think that gives it an even better sound going forward. So Kevin, yes, Megan, go ahead. Megan Hammond, ladies and gentlemen. Megan, you might need to unmute.
I did. I had to unmute and I couldn't, I had to hit the button.
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
How are you?
I just wanted to, I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm surviving.
To Chris's point, as an LS, we've lived in virtual land forever. So I didn't have to Google to search to get the add-on function. So when you and Frank get together, if you want, I can also show you a shortcut to link it through your symbol up at the top right-hand corner, it's a little 9 button jobby next to your picture up in the top right corner of
Okay.
Google,
Yeah.
toggle, you can actually access your add-on right from there without having to search, Google search to find the app.
Okay.
And I think the screenshot when I first initially set up way back when, it
Yeah.
took like 2 seconds.
Good. All right, we'll pipe you in when we're ready to go. Yeah, Chris Child has said, I noticed that when I log in to go to meeting, it saved my identity as North Central Region BDM. Any tips for manage identity, not get confused? Ron's not here, but I think we have to live with that for the folks who are sharing accounts. I think I've done that where I've gone in and noodled around as I was putting this presentation together, and I didn't sign out. And the next time I signed out, I was signing in as the North Central or the Western Region 1 type of thing. So I don't know that you can change that. I jotted that down. I'll get Ron and we'll certainly put that out. But I think that's your identity going forward. I don't know if anybody else has anything to add to that when Ron set that up. Probably not. But Chris, I promise you we'll get back to you on that. Other questions, thoughts before we go? Great opportunity here. It's being recorded, so your teammates will benefit also. You're welcome, sir. Your teammates will benefit too. Any thoughts? Going once, going twice.
Kevin, this is Chauncey. How are you?
Chauncey, how are you, buddy? Good hearing from you.
Doing great. I have a question that everyone else may already have, but me being new, do you have a editable template of what, the business development management loyalty specialty header like you have at the top? Do you have a version that I can have?
Yes.
So I can do my my slides and things like that?
You bet. We'll send it to you. We're gonna include this slide deck, and you can go from there. We have one too that's pretty standard. So absolutely, Chauncey, great question, man.
All right, thank you.
All right, good deal. Appreciate it. All right, good. Hey, Mr. Kohler, any last thoughts from you, David?
None for me. I think it was a great job, and thank you, Kevin, for walking us through this. It's hopefully very useful for everybody, and I thought it was a good meeting. Thank you.
Good deal. Thank you, everybody. Hey, hang tough. We're going to just work together and get through all this stuff, and remember to work with your partners. Call me. I'll be happy to, be your test dealer if you want to practice a meeting on, or teammates. But let's look out for each other. Let's work together, and we'll get through this, okay? God bless each and every one of you, and have a great day. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.